Give me the idea right now.
Where are you?
I'm gonna run it.
Okay, well, I think Keepers. Speed walk. This is my leftover from lunch, so I'm not missing much.
No, that's not.
Yeah. Or what'd you get?
People just all over. Especially construction majors. Yeah, you are. I just didn't know if you were doing one tomorrow. So that John kid, he asked me, only Michael. And like Michael.
Just fell under.
So we were like, okay, sorry, why are you doing that? How are you?
That's
I mean, I don't have any
Friendly amendment.
I mean, the first two sections of last chapter were but there was a lot of people debating. Like we went past 5 minutes. It goes until it's done. Sometimes, like most of the time, it starts at 7 and you're out for like 5 minutes. Sometimes it can go really long if like someone that night is super busy. Like the longest one, so this semester, I think it's like 11:30. So like sometimes it can go longer, but I would say on average.
Hello, everyone. We're going to be getting started here in just about 5 minutes. If you haven't already, there is a name tent for all of our new senators in the back. In that back little foyer, there will just be a spot where you'll have your name tent that we will call upon you with. So I know who you are out there. So feel free to go grab that if you haven't already. Additionally, since we have a little bit of time, I want to encourage everyone, and actually not encourage, this is my request. Everyone get up and move to a new seat and sit next to someone who you don't normally sit to if you've been here before.
No. Do you take our name?
Yes. We're going to try to mix it up a little bit, especially because this is our first meeting. So please, everyone, stand on up, sit next to someone who you don't sit to. Try to move rows too. Like I don't want to see front row people in the front row, back row people in the back. Everyone spread amongst yourselves. Introduce yourself to someone new, and then we'll get started shortly.
This room is. I've seen there are two tax seats on either side. I think, I swear, somebody, he was sitting here.
Last request, if you are someone who has been in Student Senate before, please try to sit next to someone who has not been in Student Senate before. There's going to be a lot of different things going on today, and your experience is really valuable. So please try to spread yourselves out. I really appreciate it.
I think I might migrate in the middle of.
I was just. Good. I'm like.
Double check.
Last year, we had the speaker in. Same one or two? Okay. Okay, because it used to be we nominate tonight and then we actually did. And we're re-electing.
All righty, everyone, we are going to go ahead and begin. Thank you all so much for joining us and for sitting in some different places today. I really appreciate that. So Nick is running a little bit late, so he'll be here shortly, but we are going to go ahead and begin tonight's meeting. So if you weren't here last time, my name is Blake. I currently serve as Speaker of the Student Senate. This is actually my last day as Speaker of the Student Senate. You all will be you all very much. You all will actually be picking a new Speaker of the Student Senate tonight. And I'm going to go over how that process goes once again, both during new senator training and during Senate, so that we really understand what's going on, because it's a little bit confusing, and we'll be going over that. So today's new senator training is going to look a lot like Student Senate. You probably, if you checked your email in the past 30 minutes, you've seen a frenzy of emails from me. I truly apologize for that. I was going to put together a sample agenda for tonight that had us hitting on a little bit of everything, but I had a heck of a day yesterday and forgot to attach the legislation to that agenda. So we're going to be going over a different agenda. This agenda was actually from February 17th of this year. So you're going to actually see what a Student Senate agenda looked like, and some of the things that we did. And we're going to be stepping through that one section by one section, kind of explaining everything that goes on. And then, yeah, just going through that a little bit. So if you've been in Senate before, I would really ask that you open up that agenda that I sent to you. I'm going to be picking on some of you all who have been here before to get up and just give like super short speeches, like reading the legislation so that we can see what that looks like. Super quick debates, couple of questions, different things like that. So if you all would be willing to help me out with that, I really appreciate it. But if everyone wants to go ahead and open up their agendas, we will be able to go through that. Ariana also has it shared up on the screen. And would you be willing to screen share it on Zoom, Ari? Thank you, thank you. So what we are going to do, First, I want to pause. Are there any questions from last new senator training or anything that I can touch on before we start our Senate agenda? I'm going to be going step by step, and feel free to stop at any point in time and let me know if there are questions as we go. But any questions before we start? Cool. All righty. So with that, I will go ahead and call this meeting of new senator training to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this point, I will read a land acknowledgement for Student Senate. So I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, March 24th, 2022 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. So at this point in time, I will now hand it over to Nick, who will do a roll call. We're going to skip that roll. Do you want to do the roll call today?
I'd be happy.
Cool. In the roll call, so if you're here, you'll go ahead and just say here. If you are someone's proxy, meaning someone has said that they're going to be absent and you are voting in their place, you do not need to say here by proxy. We have that marked down already. So if you are just present in Wildcat Chamber or on Zoom, you will just say here. So Nick, we'll take it away.
Thanks so much, Blake. Anderson.
Here.
Atchison.
Here.
Banhart. Bannister.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Bratton.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Byrne. Compton.
Here.
Cranford. Davidson.
Here.
DePaz.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Goetz.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Grolmez.
Here.
Heatherman. Hoffman.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Colorikial.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Lister. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
McPhee. Middaugh.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Navarro.
Here.
O'Donohue.
Here.
O'Reilly. Pelton.
Here.
Phillips. You're here, Blake. Pineda Gomez.
Here.
Pondillo. Porter.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Shear Carson.
Here.
Schindler.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Talbert.
Here.
Thomas. Vogelmore.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
And that's everybody.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nick. So at this point in time, we will now move into approval of the minutes. Every week, we will send out the minutes from our previous meeting, which is just kind of notes on what happened during our last meeting. Those have to be approved every week by Student Senate. Please, if you get, oh, wow, that's a loud mic. Please take a minute before you come to Senate to look through those minutes. Just familiarize yourself with what happened at last Senate, especially if you were gone. Those contain really valuable information for that. So in order to make a motion in Student Senate, I will sometimes prompt different motions. So what you'll do is you will raise your placard in order to do that. So for example, to approve the minutes, I would ask, I seek a motion to approve the minutes. Senator Lynn.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes will stand approved. So that's how making a lot of our motions works. You just raise your placard to be recognized. The speaker will then recognize you and you will move to do whatever. So for example, moving to approve the minutes. We'll see another motion here in just a second, which is a motion to consider. That is how we introduce our legislation to the body and are able to read it and different things like that. So I'll go over some of the more common motions as we go through. Additionally, if you all look in your name tents on the underside, there is a par law cheat sheet. So with that, you are kind of able to see some of the rules and votes that are required with that. And so that is a really useful tool if you're trying to make a motion or are just trying to understand what's going on parliamentary procedure wise. I do my best to try to walk you through exactly what's going on in Senate, but that's also a really good resource for you as well. So now that the minutes have been approved, we will move on to announcements. So on this top part of the agenda, if you scroll down a couple of pages, you'll have some announcements. So these were actual announcements that were happening at that time when this agenda went out. A lot of ones that you will see every week are 5 and lower. So proxies, that is when you are not going to be present at a student senate meeting and you have to designate someone to vote in your place. So you just fill out that form in the agenda and you're able to have someone vote for you so that your absence is excused. Additionally, if you want to, it's not on this agenda, but if you want to attend Student Senate on Zoom, there's a form for you to fill out as well. That'll be approved if you're traveling outside of Manhattan, if you're sick but feel well enough to come to Student Senate over Zoom, or if you have different family obligations or any other reasons that the speaker can approve, that is how you can attend Student Senate via Zoom. If that form is not filled out, it is the expectation that you come to Student Senate in person, and you won't be able to get that Zoom link unless you filled out that form. So that is kind of how that works. In our agenda tonight, both our attendance policy and our Zoom policy are put in the announcements. So please take a moment to review those as well. Next, at the end of every Senate, we have what's called Senate shoutouts. So that's just a really cool way to anonymously recognize people in Student Senate. So if you fill out that form at the very end of our meeting, Nick gets to read those. Those are really cool. If you thought that someone had a really great debate tonight, you could fill it out and say, Bentley, you had a really great debate tonight. Thank you for what you do. And so it's super cool just to be able to recognize people in that way. So really encourage filling those out. How many did we have last week, Nick? Was it like 114?
77. Oh, 77 last week. We had over 100 a couple weeks ago.
So super cool. They're a lot of fun. And I'd really encourage you all to fill those out. We have an SGA member of the week every week. And then we put a little calendar on there that says what we have going on within SGA that week, and then a quote of the week as well. So that is what the announcements will contain every week. Next, after announcements, we move to what are called commendations. So commendations are basically an official congratulations from SGA. We like to recognize a lot of various different people across campus for their work, or even people who aren't related to campus. So that is SGA's official seal of approval, welcoming someone, congratulating them, whatever the case may be. So we are going to go ahead and act like we're going to be going over this commendation. So I will seek a motion to consider Resolution 48. Senator Atchison.
I move to consider resolution 48.
Seconded.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 48. Will the author please come forward? Ooh, Senator Gromez. Yeah. You don't have to be recognized to be the author, but it's my fault. I didn't make the agenda right. So thanks for reading that, Rachel. I don't, but Rachel, you can use mine.
Okay.
All right, Hey, friends. The author is Blake Phillips. Sponsors are Maggie Billman, Aaron Gann, Max Harmon, Jacob Long, Peyton Lynn, Evan Porter, RJ Salmon, and Kate Thomas. Whereas on February 14th, 2022, President Richard B. Myers officially retired as 14th president of Kansas State University. Whereas on December 2nd, 2021, Dr. Richard Linton was announced as the 15th president of Kansas State University by the Kansas Board of Regents. Whereas President Linton has a longstanding history at land-grant institutions, including graduating from Virginia Tech University, serving as a food science faculty member, Director and founder of the Center for Food Safety Engineering and Associate Director of Agricultural Research Programs at Purdue University, serving as Department Chair of Food Science and Technology at Ohio State University, and serving as Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences at North Carolina State University. Whereas President Linton's wife, Sally, and their children, Lily and Chris, will soon come to Manhattan, Kansas, and whereas President Linton's first day in office was Monday, February 14th, 2022. Be it resolved that, Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, or KSU-SGA, officially welcomes President Richard Linton and his family to Manhattan, Kansas, and to the K-State family. Section 2, KSU-SGA looks forward to working with President Linton and is excited to build on the long-standing history of shared governance at Kansas State University. Section 3, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to University President Dr. Richard Linton.
Alrighty, so at this point in time, once the legislation has been read, I will ask if there are any questions or corrections for the author. So are there any questions or corrections for the author? If someone wants to ask a question, I would love that. I don't know what you want to ask, but. Senator Lynn.
What's your favorite thing about President Linton?
My favorite thing about President Linton is I actually got the opportunity to meet him when I was tabling for an organization I'm a part of. And he was just really friendly, and he just had a really fun conversation with us. And he liked Chick-fil-A, so my kind of guy.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Rachel. So we would continue that until there were no more questions. So once we do that, commendations are usually not very controversial. We're usually pretty excited to congratulate people and different things like that. So I, at this point, ask for a motion to approve Resolution 48 unanimously. So I will ask for that motion. Senator Porter.
I move to approve Resolution 48 unanimously. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 48 unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 48 will stand approved. In order to make an objection, I'll ask for that several times. All you have to do is raise your placard and go, objection. It's kind of fun. I've gotten to object once before, and it's kind of thrilling. But anyway, so if you, for whatever reason, did not want to welcome President Linton, you could do so in that way, and then we would actually take a vote on it to determine if we wanted to welcome him or not. So you can also see, before we move on from commendations, there are a couple of different cheats or helpful tools for making motions. So right under commendations on that very first page on the agenda, you'll see I move to consider Resolution 2122XX. That is the motion that you make in order to do that. So that's kind of how that works there. Right after commendations, we will move into approval of appointments. And so appointments are when we are approving the positions of various people. So next week, you all will see the approval of the Chief of Staff. That's one of the positions in the executive branch. So we'll actually get to approve that position. It's up to Student Senate to approve that. So on this agenda, Resolution 49 approves some new student senators. So is there a motion to consider Resolution 49? Senator Grills.
Motion to consider Resolution 49.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 49. Will the author please come forward?
Hello, everyone. This is Resolution 212249, approval of new student senators, authored by me, sponsored by the Senate Operations Committee. Whereas there is currently one vacancy for the position of student senator for the graduate school, whereas the list of candidates from the 2021 KSU-SGA general election has been exhausted, whereas GK Zhao was nominated by the Graduate School Council in its capacity to fill the vacancy, whereas there is currently one vacancy for the position of Kansas State University Salina Aerospace and Technology Campus representative to the KSU-SGA Student Senate, and whereas the KSU Salina Student Body President nominated Jack Byrne in their capacity to fill the vacancy, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the graduate school, GK Zhao, and Section 2, the following individual be approved as the KSU Salina representative to the KSU SGA Student Senate, Jack Byrne.
All right, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, I will now seek a motion to approve Resolution 49 unanimously. Senator Salmon.
I move to approve Resolution 49 unanimously. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 49 unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 49 will stand approved. So whenever we approve people, we generally will swear them in. So if these people were actually being approved today, I would ask them to come down front and I would swear them in to their new positions and they would introduce themselves to the body. So that is what would happen then. Tonight on our agenda, you will see a designated section where we will be swearing all of you in because you all are new student senators and we get to swear you in officially. So I'll be going over that during tonight's meeting, how we're specifically going to do that. So moving back up in our agenda, we are now done with approval of appointments. So at this time, I would look for any committee chairs who would like to give a report. So we have our various committees, our 6 standing committees, and this is a time for them to address Student Senate on some of the work that they're doing and various things like that. So are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Senator Richenberg.
This way. My last one is report. My committee is dead. RIP, rest in peace.
All right, so then I would ask for any questions. Oh, sorry.
I wasn't done, but that's fine. Rachel? Oh, that's you.
Senator Bromas.
I was just, can you please share with the body why your committee is dead? Or like what committee you served on, just so people know.
Oh, gosh, okay. Yay, get to talk about this. So yeah, I was the chair of the Governmental Relations Committee last year, and we had this huge legislation that basically restructured all of our legislative committees pretty much. And GR got whacked. GR stands for Governmental Relations, but yeah, so it doesn't exist anymore. And that's just kind of because the original intent of GR was to kind of make political opinions for the body. You do that now, your head's gonna get chopped off and burned on a stake. So we don't do that anymore. So there really wasn't a huge purpose of GR. A lot of our kind of jobs could be placed elsewhere, specifically in the executive branch. So she's dead.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your report, Marta. So we would just continue until any other committee chairs. We would just continue if anyone else wanted to give a report. But once committee reports are done, we move to directors' reports. Directors are any other member of like broader SGA leadership who would like to give a report. So if there are any cabinet members who would like to report to Student Senate, they're welcome to during this time. Nick and myself can give reports, as well as Ariana. Any officer in SGA is welcome to give reports at this time. So we won't do that right now. It's the exact same thing as committee reports, just different section of people who give those reports. So after our report section, this isn't on your agenda that we're going over right now, but we will sometimes have what's called college caucus time. College caucus time is where we take essentially a break in Student Senate and you get to go meet with all of the members of your college caucus. Again, the members of your college caucus is everyone in SGA who is from the same college as you. So College of Arts and Sciences, College of Business, whatever the case may be, you get to go and meet with those people. Sometimes we have specific things that we want you to get done during that time, but other times it's just time to brainstorm and think of different things that you can do for your college and different issues that arise there. So you'll sometimes see that on the agenda. It won't be on there tonight and unfortunately isn't on this agenda that I have for you. With that, we will go ahead and move into approval of the allocations. So approval of the allocations is when we are allocating money to student organizations. We have our student allocations committee. And when this committee meets with student organizations, if they determine that they want to give them funding, Student Senate has to approve that. And this is the section where we approve that. These allocations are generally not very controversial, so we kind of group them together and we approve all of them at once. If you, as a student senator, don't like a group that were like, for whatever reason, don't want to give money to a student organization, you are more than welcome to consider this by itself. The way that that works is, say, for example, I had a problem with Bill 65, the FY22 travel allocation to the Mechanical Contractors Association of America. I would say, or I would make the motion, so being recognized by the speaker, I move to consider resolution 65 in final action. I'll talk a little bit more about final action later, but that is where we do like voting and all of those different things. So that usually doesn't happen. That never happened this past term, I don't believe. So the allocations are generally not very controversial, and that's why we consider them how we do. So you will have seen these the week prior. I'll go over our 2-week process here in just a couple of minutes. So this isn't like brand new to everyone. You've had the chance to review these. So I will seek a motion to approve the allocations at this time. Senator Long.
I move to approve the allocations. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the allocations. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the allocations will stand approved. So that's how we approve all of our various allocations that go through. Next, we move into final action. So final action is where the actual voting and debate happens. So we have 3 different pieces of legislation on this agenda. We're just going to go over one of them so we can see how it works. But we will have, let's do, Andrew, actually, funny enough, you walked in. You're the author of all of this legislation. Yeah, so we'll just do Bill 66, amendments to the KSU-SGA bylaws regarding speaking privileges of Phase 1 interns. At this time, I would ask the author to come forward. You don't have to do that, Andrew. I'll step in for you.
I can if I want. Yeah, go ahead.
Nick, you want to take over the chair really quick?
Yeah, of course. Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made to the legislation.
You have first rights to debate.
Thank you. So yeah, this is where I give a debate on why I believe that you should pass Bill 66. It's a good idea. So I think you all should pass it. There's usually a lot more debates than this, but just for sake of time, this is what a debate looks like. And yeah, that's my debate.
Thank you so much for that debate, Blake. We'll now move into speeches in the negative on this piece of legislation. Would anyone like to speak in the negative? Senator Lynn.
I, for one, don't think anyone should have speaking rights in Student Senate anymore. So I would encourage all of you to vote in the negative on this legislation.
Thank you for your debate, Senator Lynn. So debate continues back and forth. The first speech is always in the positive because generally, and I hope that the author usually supports their piece of legislation. So they get to give the first speech on why it should pass. We then ask for any debate in the negative. So we kind of go back and forth, positive, negative, until either one debate just ceases by itself, meaning no one has any extra debate and we're ready to vote on it, or after 5 speeches in both sides. So I have asked for 5 positive speeches and 5 negative speeches. We have what's called the previous question. And this means that we move to end debate. So the body can do that with a vote of a 2/3 majority. So say that we've just been going back and forth. People are making the same points. Everyone has their minds made up, and we're ready to vote. We can move to call the previous question. So can I have someone move to do that really quick? Senator Atchison.
I move to previous call. I call previous question. Second.
All right, so it has been moved and seconded to call the previous question. Again, this means that we stop debating and we are ready to vote on the legislation. So at this time, if you are in favor of closing debate on this piece of legislation, please raise your placard at this time. If you are on Zoom, I ask that you use the raise hand feature and we can count it there. So as speaker, I kind of just make a judgment call. So those are the yeses. Go ahead and place your placards down. All those opposed, same sign.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Awesome. So with that, the yeas have it. They have a 2/3 majority. So debate will be closed. So all of our legislation, like we mentioned in our last new senator training session, we have bills and resolutions. Bills are where Senate is taking an action on something, and resolutions are where we are expressing our opinion. All of our bills we do by what's called a roll call vote, meaning that Nick is going to go through and call everyone's name, and you get to go ahead and vote. When you are voting, you have 4 different options. You can either say yes, you can say no, you can abstain, meaning that you are choosing not to vote on that legislation, or you can pass, which means Nick will skip you for now and he'll come back to you. You can't keep passing. If you pass once, you have to vote either yes, no, or abstain the next time. But it kind of gives you more time to think about it, see what other people are voting and different things like that. So we will go ahead and move into a roll call vote on Bill 66.
Thanks so much, Blake. So again, like he said, yes, no, pass, abstain. Anderson,
Yes.
Atchison,
Yes.
Banhart, Bannister,
Pass.
Barron, Bellamy,
No.
Bratton,
Yes.
Brown,
No.
Poor Nick has to really work for this.
Byrne, Compton,
Yeah.
Cranford, Davidson,
Yes.
DePaz,
Yes.
Dahl,
Yes.
Goetz,
Yes.
Grills,
No.
Grolmez,
Yes.
Heatherman, Hoffman,
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Coloriquion,
No.
Kidd,
Yes.
Lister, Long,
Yeehaw.
Lynn,
No.
McPhee,
Yes, by proxy.
Middaw,
Yes.
Murphy,
Nick, really
Navarro?
quick. So I want to point out what RJ just did really quick, Senator Salmon. If you are an approved proxy for someone, meaning that you are voting in their place, you get to cast their vote for them. So if you want to vote yes for them, you will say yes and then add by proxy so that we recognize that you are voting for someone else and you're not trying to like double vote. That just signifies that this vote counts as my proxy's vote. So sorry, just wanted to take a moment to point out what RJ did because you'll hear that a couple of times tonight.
Thanks, RJ. Okay, Navarro,
Yes.
Ori,
Yes.
Pelton,
Yes.
Philip, no, stop. Pineda Gomez,
No.
Pondillo,
Yes.
Porter,
Abstain.
Richenberg,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Roth,
No.
Salmon,
Yes.
Shear, Alexa,
Pass.
and Carson Shear.
Yes.
Schindler,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Talbert,
Nay.
Thomas, Volgamore,
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, circling back to passes. Bannister,
Abstain.
and Alexa.
Yes.
Okay. On a vote of 28 to 10 to 3, that legislation is approved.
Alrighty, so we will then, after we do that and Nick announces the vote total, we just continue moving into we continue moving through final action over each piece of legislation that we have. So because we have done that now, we will go ahead and move into introduction of legislation. So this is where I'm going to explain a little bit of how our legislative process works in Student Senate. So during 1 week, our legislation works on a 2-week process. So the very first week, that legislation is introduced to Student Senate. So it will be read like the commendation and the approval of appointments that we had. And Student Senate will have the opportunity to ask the author any questions that they have. At the end of the night, you'll see at the bottom of that agenda, we have what's called reference of legislation. That agenda will be, or that piece of legislation will be referred to one of our committees. So that committee will have the opportunity to review the legislation and basically give their vote on it. They'll be able to say, yes, we like it, no, we don't like it, or we don't really have an opinion. The legislation generally goes to like a committee where it's similar to what's going on in the committee. So if it's an allocation that we have, it'll go to one of our the allocations committee. Different things like that, so that the people who know the most about that legislation can give Senate an idea of what they think about it. That legislation you will then generally see the next week in Student Senate, and you'll be able to vote on it. If you look back in final action in the bold, it says favorably from ops 6-0. So that tells you that that legislation came from the Senate Operations Committee, and they were generally in favor of that piece of legislation by a vote of 6-0. So that's kind of how you can see what that committee thinks of the legislation that we have. So moving into introduction of legislation, so we can see it for the first time, I will now seek a motion to consider Bill 69. Senator Porter.
I move to consider Bill 69. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 69. And this will be the exact same process as we saw with commendations and approval of appointments, where the author will come up, read the legislation, and then they'll have the opportunity to ask any questions. So after introduction of legislation, that is all of our legislation for the night. And we move into second open period. I forgot to mention at the very top, each student senate starts with an open period right after our roll call. This is generally where we'll have speakers come to student senate. Well, it's really for anyone without speaking privileges to address the body. So for example, we had President Myers on his very last day in office come and speak to student senate. And people have the opportunity to ask those presenters questions and various things like that. At the end of our agenda, we have second open period, and that is where you all have the opportunity to speak in front of the body. And it's an open period. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Sometimes people will talk about things that happened that night. They'll talk about different things that are going on in their clubs or organizations, just kind of internal announcements for the group from you all. Additionally, at the very end of second open period, that is where we do our Senate shout outs so that we can see or we can congratulate each other and end the meeting on a high note. Like I mentioned, that reference of legislation is where the speaker will send legislation to the various committees to be approved or to be reviewed. So that will go something like this. For reference of legislation tonight, Bill 69 will be referred to the Senate Operations Committee. So then you all will know if you're really passionate about that piece of legislation and you want to have a say over it in committee, you have the opportunity to go to that committee where that legislation will be discussed. And then you'll likely see it the next week. So Student Senate will then end with another roll call, just so we know that you've been here the entire time for the whole meeting. And then we seek a motion for adjournment. So I will now seek a motion for adjournment. Senator Kidd.
I move we adjourn this meeting until next week, same time, same place.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn till the same time, same place next week. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Senator Bannister.
I object because I don't want to go to new senator training.
I understand that objection. So I'm going to go ahead and if it were a real objection, we would move into a vote on whether or not we would adjourn or not. But we will now stand adjourned. Thank you all very much. So that is kind of what I'm switching mics. I want to get up. That's kind of what a Senate meeting looks like structure wise. I want to pause for any questions that you all may have on how the structure goes. I know it's confusing, especially with par law, and it'll take a little bit of time just kind of seeing how it works to get used to. But I want to make sure you all are as prepared as possible for tonight and for how our meetings will go. So please take this time to ask me any questions that you have. Senator Kidd.
When is it acceptable to clap after certain things pass unanimously versus not?
Yes, so it is acceptable to clap after legislation. Ariana, if you want to scroll up, after our commendations and approval of appointments, just because these aren't really controversial. We love being able to congratulate people with a clap or congratulate people for being sworn in for approval of appointments. Everything else we don't clap after, just in case, you know, sometimes we get into debates on both sides and we want to make sure that, you know, like we're not making people feel bad because they were on the losing side of something and different things like that. So those are the only times that we clap for legislation. Second open period, sometimes we'll clap depending on what the speech is. You'll know when you hear it. But yeah, thank you for that question, Marcus. Senator Long.
What if I have a question anytime you're talking? What should I do?
Yes. So if you have a question at any time, just like for legislation, you'll raise your placard. So I know who's raising or who would like to be addressed, and I will acknowledge you at that time. So someone has a question right now. Someone out there, raise your placard. Vice President Koger.
What time are we thinking the meeting will
Ooh, excellent question. New senator training, my goal is to get out of here pretty soon so that I can give us a little bit of a break before Senate. But yeah.
Awesome.
Senator Porter.
You said Parlaw a couple times. What is Parlaw?
Yes, Parlaw is parliament, or it is short for parliamentary procedure. So that is kind of, it's based off of Robert's Rules, which is a book basically talking about how to run meetings efficiently. And Student Senate uses that in order to run our meetings efficiently. So that's where you hear, I move so-and-so, or I move to approve so-and-so. That's just kind of how we run our meetings in a structured format so that we can get through it efficiently. Thank you for that question. Senator Bellamy.
If we notice errors on a legislation, should we tell you or email you?
Yes. So if it's like a comma, different things like that, go ahead and just send me an email with like a list of them. But if it is like, I don't know, call it a substantive change or like words that are out of place, different things like that, raise your placard to be recognized, especially in introduction of legislation when I ask for any questions or corrections. You can bring your corrections at that time, but for tiny things like commas and extra spaces, apostrophes, it's a lot easier to just look at an email and make those corrections there. Senator Pineda Gomez.
What would I say if I want to make a motion, but I don't know what the name of that motion is?
Yes. So this, I'm going to add a little bit to that question too. Raising your placard, like Jacob mentioned, I think, no, it was Marcus asking a question. Maybe it was Jacob, someone. At any time, if you do not know what's going on in like for our parliamentary procedure, you can raise your placard and I will recognize you and you will just say, I have a parliamentary inquiry. So you are wondering what's going on parlaw wise. And then I'll take a moment to explain where we're at in the meeting, what we're voting on, what we're discussing, different things like that. If you don't know what motion to make, you'll just raise your placard and basically say, I have a parliamentary inquiry. How do I move to whatever I want to do? So if you want to re-vote on something, how do I move to re-vote on this piece of legislation? And I'll explain how to do that at that time. So that's kind of how that works. Thank you for that question, Juan. Senator Porter.
If I need to get up and leave the room at any point, can I just get up and leave?
Yeah. So generally try like, don't leave the room all the time. But if you need to go to the bathroom, that's totally fine. If you need to like fill up your water, whatever the case may be, you're more than welcome to do that. I would only ask that you try to avoid doing that during voting, just so we can make sure to have all of your votes, well, voting and roll calls, because if you miss a roll call, you'll unfortunately be counted absent. So just try not to do that at those points in time, but you're more than welcome to at any point in time. Senator DePaz.
So I know that we have a roll call towards the Senate, but what happens if we have
Yeah, so if you have to leave mid-Senate, just say something comes up, either send the speaker an email or a text, just letting them know. If you just miss a roll call, it'll be counted as a half absence, and that's just because we do a roll call at the beginning and a roll call at the end. So divide it in two, that's half. In our attendance policy, if you have 3 or more unexcused absences, that is grounds for removal from Student Senate. So just try to be there for both roll calls, and please just try to let the speaker know if you're going to be gone for whatever reason. I can speak for myself. I'm generally very lenient, and like I understand that things happen. So communication is always best. Even if you don't think your absence will be approved, fill out the proxy form and just communicate with the speaker, and you should be good to go. Senator Long.
We all look pretty great tonight. Do I need to dress like this every week?
Thank you very much. No, there is no dress code at Student Senate. Fun fact, well, I don't know if you consider this fun or not. My freshman year and before, we did have a business casual dress code. That has since gone by the wayside. But a lot of us who were there, like, I don't know, some of us just enjoy dressing up for Senate. So you'll find some people dressed up, but you'll also find people on your general Senate day, like in sweatshirts and sweatpants. You'll find someone, however you want to dress, you'll likely find someone dressed in a very similar fashion. Today's the first meeting, so a lot of us will be getting sworn in, pictures will be getting taken. I'll be handing my chair over to someone else, so that's why I'm dressed up how I am, but totally up to you. Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. So, Andrew, was this your question?
It is a question, but I also technically have speaking rights. He's an orderly. I am the president of 2 student organizations.
So, really quick. You all have speaking privileges in Student Senate. I can recognize you to speak on the floor. Cabinet members do, president, vice president, all of our SGA positions essentially, except for the judicial branch. That's been a hot topic recently. But if, say, for example, Andrew was not a president of a student organization presidents do have speaking privileges at Student Senate. But if he was not, and he wanted to say something, he would raise his hand to be, or no, sorry. Peyton, Senator Lynn has raised her placard. What would you like to do?
I would like to defer my speaking rights to Andrew Booth.
All righty. So any one of you can defer your speaking privileges to someone who doesn't have speaking privileges in order to address the body. If they want to debate, if they want to ask a question, whatever the case may be, you have the power to let someone else speak in your spot, essentially. So Andrew, what was your question?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you as a student senator think that the speaker has done something wrong or like referred a bill to a committee that you don't want it to be referred to or something like that, how would we, bring that motion to the floor?
Yeah, so if you look on your par law cheat sheets underneath here, that is going to be a motion called appeal. It's about halfway down the page. So what you would do at that point in time, if I make any type of call in Student Senate and you think that it should go the other way, you can raise your placard and you can move to appeal the decision of the chair, meaning you don't like what I just did. I'm not going to go through exactly how that vote works because it's very confusing. If that does happen, I will, well, it probably won't be me. I don't see that happening tonight, but the speaker will go through exactly what you're voting on at that point in time. It's a little bit confusing, but by a majority vote, you all can overturn any decision that the chair makes, which is really cool because you all have a lot of power in that way. And some calls the chair just makes wrong. So yeah, that's how that works. Senator Solomon.
2 questions. One, how many debates do you get per bill? And 2, what happens if you defer your speaking rights during a debate?
Thank you. So during debates, each one of you has the ability to speak on an individual piece of legislation twice. So say that we're in a heated debate on something, we're going back and forth, and you have spoken once and you'd like to speak again. You're more than welcome to do that. Once you speak that second time, you can no longer speak on that specific piece of legislation. You can still speak later on in the night on other pieces of legislation, but you're done for that one. If, like Peyton gave her speaking rights to Andrew, if you defer your speaking rights to someone else to debate, that counts as a debate for you. So if you want to debate on that too, you then only have one chance to debate. That's kind of why that 2 rule exists, so that you can defer your speaking rights once and you can debate for someone as well. But you can also just debate twice if you'd like. That's how that works. Thank you for that. Senator Porter.
If you are, like, if we're asking questions and we haven't left the bill yet, and you defer someone your speaking rights, do they just have them for the remainder of that questioning period? Or do you have to give them your speaking rights again?
Yes, so you have to give your speaking rights every single time. If they have like a quick follow-up, I won't request speaking privileges to be given for the follow-up. But if we've like moved from speaker to speaker, then they will need to be re-given speaking rights in order to do that. Senator Kidd.
I think Advisor Ferris had a question.
Oh, yes, thank you, Kelly.
What makes good debate and what should not be considered good debate?
Yes, Ariana, would you like to address that question? Ariana is our parliamentarian, by the way. Ariana is the rules keeper of Student Senate. So all of our parliamentary procedure, she kind of gets to govern. If we have any questions, we defer to her. And she also runs our Zoom. on Senate. So we'll have a new parliamentarian here in a few weeks, but Ariana.
Of course. So great question. I would classify good debate as new substantive debate, and bad debate would be going up saying the same things, or for decorum purposes, calling out a different senator. You never mention the senator by name after or after they've given a speech. So you just say previous speaker. And yeah, also, just if I may make a brief introduction, I know a lot of this is overwhelming, especially for new people, but there will be a presentation next semester given by the parliamentarian, just going over parliamentary procedure, what you need to do. So if this is all overwhelming and your head's kind of fuzzy right now, it's okay. We've all been there. Just take a deep breath.
Yes. Also, really quick, if you have been in Student Senate before and you, in like at least in terms of Student Senate, generally feel like you know what's going on parlaw wise, go ahead and raise your hand. Like you're able, if you had to make a motion, you could do that, different things like that. So everyone who isn't comfortable with that, look around. If you would like to make a motion tonight or any other night and you don't feel comfortable with it, definitely feel free to talk to any one of those people, the speaker as well. Feel free to talk to any of us in the room and we'd be more than happy to help you make those motions. Parliamentary inquiries also always work. So thank you very much for that. Any other questions out there? No question is stupid. I was in your shoes 3 years, well, actually just 2 years ago. And trust me, I've learned a ton just by being in the room, but also through questions. So I want to make sure we have the opportunity for that. Senator Bannister.
Senator Bannister has a question for the parliament.
Ooh, yes, go ahead.
So when someone is speaking twice on a debate, can someone else give them their speaking rights so they may speak a third time?
I was actually asked this question early this year. The answer is no. Deferring to Robert's Rules of Order, not allowed.
Yes, you cannot give your speaking rights to someone who has speaking rights. You are only able to give speaking rights to someone without speaking rights. Good question. Any other questions out there? Yes, Senator Kidd.
You already mentioned this about when laptops should be like closed during meetings.
Good point. Thank you very much. So during first open period, when we have people coming to present to Student Senate, we generally ask that people close their laptops. You'll see us at the front. We might still have our laptops open because we're taking notes on what's happening so we can get that sent out to you all. Or like preparing for what's going to happen in the meeting in the future. But we ask that everyone try to close their laptops just to be respectful of the speaker, since we invited them to come and they're sharing their time with us. So that is generally the expectation of first open period. All right, any other questions out there? All righty, so with that, Nick, I know that you have something that you want to send out. And I'll let you talk about that here in a sec, but throughout this whole process, please, please, please ask any questions that you have. Feel free to ask me any questions. My time as speaker will be done after today, but I'll be out in the crowd with you all. I'll still be a student senator. You are more than welcome to ask me at any point in time, any questions that you have. Additionally, you all have my email. My phone number is in my email signature. Please feel free to reach out at any point in time. I'd be more than happy to help you all. And I'm sure that our new leadership as well will be very enthusiastic about helping you out as well. So I really appreciate you all. We are going to be starting Senate. I'm going to give us about 10 minutes. We'll start just a little bit late today, but feel free, go and like take a bathroom break, do whatever you need to do. If you haven't grabbed your name tent yet, those are in the back. Please feel free to do that. I'm going to turn it over to Nick super quick.
Yeah, thanks so much, Blake. So we've been working on a little help guide for some of the things in Senate that get mixed up, things like acronyms, how our funding works, etc. So look for that to be sent out soon.
Last thing before we break, again, we are going to be electing a new Speaker of the Student Senate tonight. So Speaker of the Student Senate is a super important position. This is the person who's going to be leading you all throughout the entire year. And so we're going to have our candidates giving speeches tonight. You'll have the opportunity to ask them questions, and then there will be debates for those candidates as well. Please feel free to ask that candidate any questions that you may have. Those questions are very important because selecting your next leader is extremely important. And I'd really encourage you all to really consider this vote tonight and just, you know, let them have it. I don't know, for lack of a better term. It's really important. This is the person that is going to be leading you throughout the year. They're going to be sitting at the front. You're going to have to hear their voice every single week. So just please make sure that this vote tonight, you're paying attention, that you're really considering all the options that are out there. I'm going to go over specifically how that process works again right before we get into it. So unless there are any last questions, we will go ahead and plan on resuming at 7:05. I will see you all back here shortly. Thank you all very much.